One of the first things that I wanted to do when I made this YouTube channel was to showcase watches that I personally found to be very interesting. So today I'm going to be showing you some watches from a brand that is local here to my state of Utah, and I'm going to tell you what I find interesting about these watches. First thing we're going to do is I'm going to address the guitar that decided to fall off the wall. So that's why there's a guitar on the ground and not on the wall. Shout out to this awesome mount that doesn't work good at all. So the brand I'm going to be talking about today is a brand called Markwell. Here in Utah, we have a thing called the Horological Society of Utah that I'm a part of. And one of the members on that Horological Society is a cool dude named John. I've met John at a couple of the Horological Society meetups. And not too long ago, John and his buddy decided to make a watch brand. So as with many of us watch individuals, the way that John got into watches was through his grandfather's watch. I can relate because that's actually my first watch that I can remember owning was my grandpa's Seiko. But through all of his years of selling, buying, collecting, taking photos, posting, being just a watch nerd, he wanted to start his own watch company. And that's what we have in front of me here today. All right, so what are these watches? There are two kind of series of watches within the Markwell collections that I'm going to showcase in this video today. The first one is called the Datematic. Taking a look at it, you can see this is obviously a very classically designed watch with a lot of interesting and unique features. The center colored portion of the dial is a matte color, my favorite one being what's called Kelly green. John named this color after his wife, Kelly. These indices are what Markwell Watches calls the Allen indices. And a lot of the design traits about this watch are actually named after individuals that are important in the founder's life. The case, for example, this is called the Telford case, named after his grandfather. The indices are vertically brushed, and on this particular color, they're gold in tone, kind of matching the case. At 3 o'clock, we see an opened date aperture with a roulette style date wheel, where one day it's gold, the other day it's white. The hands are this elegant sword style hand with a green arrow tip seconds hand. So on paper, this watch has a diameter of 37 millimeters, a thickness of 10.35 millimeters, and that is including the sapphire crystal. The overall length of this watch is 43 millimeters lug to lug, and a very strap friendly 20 millimeter lug width. On my 6.5-inch wrist, I think 37 millimeter dress watches wear phenomenally. It's not too big, but it's not too small, and it feels like a very elegant watch on your wrist. The specs on this dress watch are actually really cool for me personally, being a sports watch guy. It has 100 meters of water resistance, a sapphire crystal so you don't have to worry about scratching it or really getting it wet, and the movement on the inside is the SW200-1 by Sellita. On Markwell's website, they say it is regulated between +6 and -4 seconds a day, so that kind of puts it within COSC accuracy standards, though it is not advertised as a COSC certified watch. A lot of the decisions and the choices in terms of the design and various brandings on the watch are taken from the world of Freemasonry. John and Alan are both Freemasons, and at one of our Horological Society meetups, I actually got to learn a lot about Freemasonry. And I'll be honest, my memory is not the best, so I don't remember everything about Freemasonry, but what I understood and what I really took from that tour about the whole building is a lot of the aspects of Freemasonry have a lot to do with architecture and design, and you can see that a lot of that type of stuff is present in this watch. The name Markwell actually means to kind of make your mark, or to mark well on your journey throughout life. I think that's pretty interesting. Now, maybe dress watches are not your thing. I know for me personally, I kind of have a love-hate relationship with dress watches. And so this watch is also in the Markwell collection, and I find it equally as interesting. And that's where the candy flavors come in. So these watches are not yet out for sale. They are currently on pre-order, but this is called the Hard Candy Enamel series. I think the naming is perfect on this one. The two examples that I have are in the flavors green apple and grape jelly. What's cool about this series is they use a glass-fired enamel dial on all of these series, and all of the flavors within this collection have very vibrant, punchy, colorful dials. This watch features that similar style Allen numerals, but the numerals are made of Lumicast. So if you look at it, it's actually raised off of the dial, and it is a thick 3D objects of a blob of lume, which not only adds depth to the dial, it makes the lume very vibrant as well. This watch has a lollipop green tip seconds hand on the green one and a purple one on the purple one. And I think you have to do a lollipop seconds hand on a candy themed watch. Like, that's just the only way that makes sense in my head. So good design choice. This watch also features the same Telford case, so it has the same wearing dimensions as the Datematic, though the hands on this watch are not in its final form. On the actual production models, they will have rounded ends pictured here, but besides that, the case on the Datematic and this are essentially identical. The movement on this one is the Miyota 9039, which is of course Japanese made, 4 Hertz, and has about a 38-hour power reserve. There are no rated accuracy ratings with this movement, at least on their website, but me personally, the Miyota 9 series is one of my favorite movements that you can get in an automatic watch. So overall, what do I like about these watches? I think the overall design is something very interesting, and I wouldn't say that I know of and can name a lot of watches that are very similar in design to this watch. I think that a lot of the design choices that they used on these watches make it very unique and very interesting. I love the lugs. I believe that they call them the claw lugs, and they're very angular, and with the multiple finishing that they have on it, it just gives the overall head and overall look of the watch a very angular and cool design. Another cool feature I love about these watches is they actually don't have a traditional bezel. The crystal is pressure fit into the case, and there's a polished bevel along the edge, so it doesn't just look empty, but from a side profile, it not only makes the watch look thinner and feel thinner, but it does just make it have a very unique look about it. I think this case is very elegant. The juxtaposition between the sharp contrasting lugs and the round case adds a very interesting feeling to the overall product and package of these watches. You gotta love colorful watches. Everyone needs a little bit of color in their life, and all of the different dial flavors that they have for these watches are just a good bit of fun. Another one of the design traits that I think is really cool on this watch is the crown is lumed. So when you look at it from the side, you can see the Markwell logo glowing. And I may butcher this next part up, but the logo that they use is kind of a representation of, I believe it's cesium or some chemical that is actually radioactive. So having the logo glow on the crown is actually kind of a tribute to the radioactiveness of the material. And I don't know if it's cesium, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I thought that was cool. I think that both of these watches overall just wear so well because of that 37 mil by 43 millimeter sizing. They really don't feel too small and they don't feel too big. They're at this really good in-between spot. And I'm just really a big fan of 37 millimeter watches. So in terms of pricing, where do these watches sit? Currently, Markwell is having their spring sale, and the Datematic watches are 10% off, making them as of right now about $650, $660, which for a Swiss-made, well-finished dress watch, I find to be very reasonably priced. The hard candy enamel watches, like I said, they are on pre-sale, and their retail price is $579. Now, I don't get any kickback. I really don't have any affiliation with the brand other than that I know the founder, John, through the watch club, as I call it. And on this channel, I've always wanted to document brands that I find interesting and that maybe you haven't heard of before. So overall, I just think these are very interesting watches, and I think it's definitely worth taking a look into the brand, into the watches, and I just think they're kind of cool. As always, I thank you guys for staying to the very end of this video. Today's gift of the day for staying to the end of this video is going to be a sneak peek at an upcoming video, taking a look at what's on my wrist right now. And this little bad boy right here, upcoming video. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Peace out.